Free from Stutter Success Stories is a series of interviews with people who reached freedom from stuttering or are on their way there. Freedom from stuttering. It's when stuttering is not holding you back in your life. It can be either achieving fluency, real progress on that path, or it can be reaching your goals and making a difference despite stuttering. So we're going to prep for specifics. How are they doing that? What can we learn from them? And what can we apply in our life? Today we'll talk with Danette Fitzgerald. She is new Haven NSA, National Stuttering Association chapter co-leader. And the topic we'll get to in the interview will be confidence. I often hear people ask, maybe I should just get some more confidence and then it will improve my fluency. Well, confidence is something I lack myself. That's a very interesting topic. So let's try to learn something new. Hello, Danette.
Hello.
We met at the National Stuttering Association conference a year ago, and I just want to mention how it happened. So we had kind of an assignment to go and ask people at the mall, I think, some questions about stuttering, and then come back to the group and share our findings. I don't quite remember what the questions were. Do you remember any of those questions?
I think it was like free form, like you could ask whatever you want, and some suggestions were if you want to ask people if they know about stuttering, do they know any people that stutter?
Yeah.
What do they think about it? You could just voluntarily stutter and ask about anything. Yeah.
So I remember just one thing from this exercise, which was that people don't know much about stuttering. That's actually what I remember from that exercise. And basically what I wanted to ask. So I remember that people who volunteered to go were like people, I think, with kind of mild stutter. So how do you say, was that a challenge for you to go and ask people?
Yeah. So so on the one hand, it was a challenge to go talk to strangers about that, and on the other hand, it was a little bit easier because I was also with other people who stuttered, so a support group with me made it a little bit easier. Yeah.
And was that the first conference for you, or it was like how many times did you participate before?
So I've been going to the conferences since 2010. So that was my 7th conference, I think.
So did you participate in such exercise before, or what was that the first time?
That was the 2nd time because they ran that workshop once before. The year before that, they introduced that workshop. It was a little different because we went out on the streets and we went into stores and we voluntarily stuttered and just asked questions in the stores about buying things rather than talking about stuttering.
Okay. So when you did it the first time, how that happened that you volunteered? Like, what was the process going in your mind?
So I looked at the list of all the workshops going on, and I thought that sounded interesting and different. And voluntary stutter more.
Got it. So the first time,
I was told I should voluntary stutter more, but I'm always scared to do it, and I don't do it as much as I should. So I thought that was a good opportunity to do it with people supporting me around me, and to see public people's reactions to if I stuttered more severely than I usually do.
Got it. So the first time the exercise was about voluntarily stuttering, and the second time you just got into this, and yeah, it was got it. So okay. Can you share just a bit your stuttering journey, like how did it start, and what were like the ups and downs, maybe, I don't know, or like turning points like in that journey?
Okay, so I stuttered since I was a kid, but I don't really remember. I remember labeling myself as a stutterer as a kid, but I don't remember stuttering. And it wasn't until after college that it started to affect me more. And I was a covert stutterer, which I didn't know until I discovered the NSA and learned that term. In that I'm a pretty mild stutterer, and I could hide it by switching out words and other techniques to hide it. And once I was out of college and working, I started becoming more conscious of it, or becoming more embarrassed by it, and I didn't want to turn down opportunities at work. So that's when I first sought out speech therapy, and that really helped. One of the things that helped me most about speech therapy was learning how you make all the sounds and letters with your mouth, and with because I would get into a block of like a certain letter, and I wouldn't be able to get any sound out, and I would panic, and I wouldn't know what to do. So knowing like all the, like, this is how your mouth and your tongue like makes this letter, and this is how you loosen up to make that letter if you can't get it out. That was the most helpful to me. And then to say at the same time, and that's the first time I ever met somebody else who stuttered. I was like 28, and that was eye-opening, meeting other people who stuttered and hearing that people had the same experiences as me, like being scared to talk on the phone, or going around a table and introducing yourself and things like that. And then eventually, after a couple of years, I became a chapter leader in the National Stuttering Association, to lead a chapter, and I go to the conferences every year.
So
yeah,
you're still the chapter leader. Sorry, I missed that.
Oh yeah. So I moved a couple times, and so I was the chapter leader in Boston, and then I moved to New Haven, Connecticut, and now I'm the chapter leader in New Haven.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So okay. And what is like, how do you see the future with stuttering? Like, what is your approach now? What's your attitude? How do you feel about stuttering now?
So I feel much differently now than I did before I ever discovered the NSA or went to speech therapy. I thought it was something you had to hide, and you couldn't let that out. You couldn't speak in that way. And now, like seeing all people who stutter, and who stutter differently than me, and I see that it's okay, and you can have all these different careers and different lives, and also stutter at the same time, and that it's just a difference, like any other difference, like black hair or blonde hair, or height, or any difference, and that I've learned to advertise my stutter. Sometimes if it's going to make me feel uncomfortable, I'll tell it, because I don't need a person to tell the other person that I stutter. and then yeah. So yeah, that's how it.
Got it. Okay, so you mentioned voluntarily stuttering, and you talk about this openness. If I say that, can you imagine you get to a party and all new people there, and they don't know that you stutter? How would you behave? Like, what is your behavior right now? So I understand you say that you're not hiding it anymore, but how, like, what's going on in your mind again, and how would you behave usually in this, or how would you behave in such situation?
So I would probably, so I've used techniques a lot through speech therapy. So I can manage if I do have a block. I can manage to get the word out in some way without feeling embarrassed about it or something. So most of the time I would probably just speak and use the techniques if I need to. And if I do have an embarrassing stutter where I block and I feel like people are wondering what's going on, or people are laughing or something, or they're uncomfortable, then I'll tell the person that I stutter. Like sometimes I'll stutter on my name, and I'll take an extra second to get out my name, and someone will make a joke like, "Oh, did you forget your name?" And then at that point, I'll tell someone that I stutter, because obviously they're uncomfortable that they had to make a joke. So I'll really only advertise it to someone if it comes up, like if I have a block.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, and you mentioned some techniques that you can use from the speech therapy. Can you name just maybe one or two? Like what really, you say that it gives some control. Can you name just anything?
Yeah, so like easy onset and prolongation, which are kind of the same thing, has really helped me. So like if I have trouble on a word that starts with a K, like cat, like if I'm like, and I can't get the K out, to know like what's happening in my mouth or whatever, and with my tongue, and like know how to loosen that up and kind of go cat, like to loosen up on that letter and prolong it, like, or actually it's makes more sense to do it with like a P. If I'm like, and I can't get the P out, to loosen my lips and go, and to loosen things and prolong
got it.
that first time.
Oh, got it. So you kind of reduce the first consonant and make the like. So this is the easy onset, you say.
Yeah.
So when you kind of reduce the consonant, making it like less, or yeah, got it. Not concentrating on less the first consonant.
Tense. Yeah.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. If I ask you about your like career choice and your work, is it do you speak much? Do you have to speak much at work? Like, is speaking much involved in your work? And do you see like any connection between your, like, how you chose your path, your career path, with stuttering? Do you see any connection there?
So there was no connection to how I chose my career path with stuttering. I didn't let it hold me back and choose a different career than I really wanted because I stuttered. I did what I wanted to do. I'm an engineer, and in my normal day-to-day work, I speak with my team, like people that I work with, and yeah, I speak more like informally with people that I'm close to, that sit near me, that I'm working on projects with, and then I branch out and need to speak with different people about different things. And I don't really need to make many presentations in work. I've had different jobs, and sometimes I've needed to make more or less. I actually did just a few months ago, I made my first presentation at a conference, which was a big deal for me, because when I first sought out speech therapy, I saw myself rejecting opportunities to do things like that because I would be too nervous and I didn't think I could do it well to go to a conference and give a presentation. But so it was good that I finally got the opportunity to do that, and I jumped at the chance and I gave a presentation to more than 100 people.
Wow. And my personal experience is that at work, like, I struggled most because we kind of tend to want to, like, to satisfy our boss, our colleagues, like to be our best self. So maybe we're putting like more pressure on ourselves. How do you deal with that? Like, do people at work know that you start, like, or you, maybe it's the better to say, are you open about it, or yeah, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so now I am open about it. So I've had I've had 3 different jobs. So at my first job, I was still young. I was not that open about it. When I first discovered the NSA and I was going to my first conference, I told a few people if it came up. And then the more that I've been with the NSA, the more I've gotten comfortable with telling people. So now at this job, like and the conference is a great opportunity to bring it up because people know you're going on vacation, and it's a holiday in the U.S. also. So people always ask, "What are you doing for the holiday? Where are you going on vacation?" And so you can just say, "Oh, I'm going to the city," and not tell them it's the conference. Or if you want to, you can tell them that it's the conference and talk about it. So I use that opportunity to tell more people, and then people can ask questions if they want to. And I find some people are very curious about it and ask a lot of questions. Some people, you just tell them and that's it, and they don't care. So yeah, now, like, I don't talk about it all the time, but I tell people at the lunch table and stuff, and I know people know, so that makes me more comfortable. If I do have a stutter in front of them, I know that they're not wondering, like, what's wrong.
Got it. Another question I want to ask about kind of being active. So I've had several interviews, and I found that people say, like, either stuttering is like pressing on you, or you are kind of, or you begin to be more active, like, you know, having more, taking more challenges, and, you know, doing more, like, volunteering for this and that, and you kind of, uh, uh, and kind of stuttering moves back. How do you feel about it? Do you need to keep, or do you agree? And how, what happens with you? Do you need to keep up with being kind of active and volunteering and challenging yourself to do that, or like new stuff? How do you see that? I wouldn't say fight with stuttering, because we're not fighting with it, but still, like, how do you feel about it?
Being active with volunteering and stuff, you mean like with your stuttering, you need to, like, or you mean in general in your life?
Actually, both. I think that's the question. I mean, because you said that sometimes you need to make a presentation. How, if you have a choice, like, to make a presentation or to volunteer to make a presentation or not, how do you approach that?
Oh yeah, I'd never thought about that, if keeping active keeps the stuttering down or not. That's an interesting question. Never thought about that.
Okay, then then how, because usually, you know, what happens with stuttering, you stutter and you kind of focus on it, and you know, the more you focus on it, the more you stutter, and this is like the cycle that, you know, oftentimes people just get, you know, they're don't want to talk to anybody, they want not do anything. So for you, it comes out kind of easy that you how you deal with that circle.
So maybe if you weren't as active like in the world, and you'd be more focused on your yourself, and you might stutter more. But when you're out in the world and doing things, and I guess focused on other people, and like as you like get older, you learn that everyone is in focus, is in like, because you think like any flaw that you have, that everybody sees it and everybody's concentrate on it. But when you get older, you learn that like people aren't focused like on you. They're focused on themselves, and they don't see your flaws as much as you see your own flaws, and as much as you focus on it. So the more you're like with people and doing things and taking chances and taking opportunities, I guess you're less focused on in general, and and I guess it goes down a little bit.
Yeah, but if we try to dig deeper, what makes you this is a great conclusion, that we should not focus on it too much, but it doesn't happen usually automatically. So why do you think that happens for you, that you're not focusing on that too much? And was that the case all the time? Like usually at school people struggle, because this is the time when it's so important to how other people view you, how other, your friends, the class. So usually people say this is the kind of worst period, when they're putting a lot of pressure on them and stress. What do you say? Did you have like that period in your life, or you?
Yes. So I was, no matter what, I was always pretty confident in myself, even when I was growing up and stuff. I was going to say, in speech therapy last year, I went through a cognitive behavior therapy,
Oh,
which did help me learn a little more about how I feel towards things, and what I expect in situations, and how to really feel, and that the worst is not going to happen, and it's not as bad as I thought it was. And so that had helped change my view of things. I guess, so what's weird with me is that I remember when I was young and in school, I labeled myself as a stutterer, but I don't really have, and I remember like reading, like if you were reading in class and everyone had to read a paragraph, you look ahead to which paragraph you had to read and see what words and letters were in that paragraph for you to be nervous about. But I don't have really many vivid memories of stuttering or being laughed at or being self-conscious about it. Like I remember being nervous about it, like in those reading situations or introducing yourself sometimes. But I don't really have the severe memories that a lot of people who stutter have of like being really self-conscious about it or being laughed at, which is surprising, but
got it. Yeah, and oftentimes people say like, I need more confidence. If I have more confidence, then I will stutter less. So yeah, and you mentioned the confidence and another I don't know, cognitive. This is more like a psychological stuff, right? So do you feel that much of that stuttering problem people are facing is the psychological piece?
yeah. So it was called cognitive behavior therapy.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think a lot of stuttering is the psychological piece, and especially with a covert stutter. Like, have you heard of the iceberg analogy of stuttering?
Yeah, and actually, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So with a overt stutterer, or someone who stutters more severely, there's more stuttering above the surface that other people can
Oh,
see,
yeah.
and then
Got
they
it.
still have the feelings below the surface in the iceberg. With a covert stutterer, there may not be much above the surface. They may appear normal to other people. Like people have told me in the past, "Oh, you don't stutter," and I'm like, "No, yes, I do." But there's just so little on the surface that other people don't notice, but there's still the same amount underneath the surface that you still have the same fears and anxieties and feelings about it. And so, especially for a covert stutter, it's more about the anticipation of speaking and the nervousness before you speak and the nervousness while you're speaking than the fact that you're physically going the like,
Yeah, totally
or
agree.
blocking or repetitions.
Totally agree. Okay, so if we kind of eliminate or reduce that fear of being revealed, we kind of remove a lot of stress and anxiety. That's the idea.
Yeah. So for a covert stutter, a lot of it is in like desensitization. So to desensitize yourself to people's reactions, because most of what's in your head is like what people's reactions are going to be. Like, oh, I stutter, then this person's going to react like this, and it's all imagined or anticipated. It's like what you're, what you're imagining people are going to do or going to think. And so that's why voluntary stuttering helps, because if you actually go and stutter, like you do what you're nervous about, you do what you're scared of, and like see how people react, and then you learn like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. People don't react as bad as I thought they were going to. And then that makes you realize, like, I don't have to be so nervous if I let out a stutter, because if I let out a stutter, then that's not a big deal, because people don't react as poorly as I expect.
Got it. So if to put like this cognitive behavior thing in simple words, is it mostly about like feeling that it's everything okay with me, like, and being kind of open about when whatever or however you might look or appear, or you would put it in a different way somehow? Like, what was the major thing for you out of that cognitive behavioral thing?
Oh, yeah, all the stuff that you imagine, like, because you kind of like, you like list the things you're scared of happening, and then say, well, if that happens, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? And because you'd be like, I'm scared of stuttering at work. Like, why are you scared of stuttering at work? Because then I feel like, my boss will know I stutter, and he'll think I'm incompetent, and he'll think I'm dumb, and I'll get fired, and I'll lose my job. And like, that's like the worst that you could imagine that could come from it. And to like kind of teach yourself, like, that's ridiculous, that's not going to happen. Like, so if your boss knows you stutter, what like big deal, like so he's going to know you stutter, and nothing's really going to happen. Like, nothing that bad is going to happen for stop coming up with these ridiculous situations. Or like, if you call someone on the phone and you stutter, like, you have always imagined, like, what's going to happen, but that's not really going to happen. And so, yeah.
Okay, and maybe even if you get fired, this is still not the end of the world.
Right, it's not the end of the world. That's a good way to put it.
Maybe sometimes it means a good, like, for many people say that they got so successful because they were fired basically one day. So
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, one more thing I wanted to ask. If I say public speaking, what do you feel about it? Or how do you feel about it?
Okay. Well, right now I feel more confident about it, because I just went to this conference this work conference in June, and gave this presentation, and it was actually fun. And it was like I got over like this thing that I never did before, and like and it was exciting, and I'd like to do it again. So like on the one hand, like before I do it, I'm nervous and stuff. Like I was a maid of honor at my friend's wedding, and I had to give a speech at the wedding. I was very nervous about that. But when I did that, I got through it and it went great. And then this work conference, I got through that and it went great. And so the more I do it, the more I learn. It is easy and fun. If I practice enough, I'll stutter less. Because if I don't know what I'm going to say, that's when I stutter more. But if I practice a lot and I know what I plan to say and I know the words and I practice the words that I plan to say, I will stutter as long as I've had time to practice. I feel confident about it. And I probably even feel more confident than some people who don't stutter, because everyone is nervous about public speaking, even people who don't stutter. And like I know people who don't stutter who like would never like do public speaking because they're too scared of it. So I'm actually probably have more confidence in it than they do.
Right. Okay. And with this confidence thing, like, what would you advise or what would you tell a person who is saying that I lack confidence, I just don't know where to start with this confidence thing, I just lack it and that's it. I just don't know where to get it. And, confidence, it sounds like something we can go and buy or, like a pill we need to swallow and I'm more confident. Where would I start with my confidence?
That's a tough one because I feel like somewhat it's like ingrained, like it's like part, like, because I've always been confident my whole life, and people have told me like more than the average person, like, and so I don't have experience much with like not being confident and then gaining more confidence. I mean, I guess like on a small scale, but so yeah, that like yeah, it's just like kind of knowing yourself and liking yourself and being comfortable with yourself, and like if you're happy with yourself when you're alone with yourself, like you have to be happy with yourself like that. Like I'm very happy with myself when I'm alone, like I need my alone time, and yeah, to just know that you're a good person and you like yourself as a person, but I don't know how to get there if you don't have it.
Got it. So your point, this is a good point. So confidence starts with kind of self-worth and self-esteem, how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
So if you kind of feel fine about yourself, then probably your confidence
yeah, and it's like to let other people's reactions like roll off your back, because like to not give too much credit to other people's reactions to you, to be like, I know I like myself, I know I'm a good person, and if this person over here doesn't like me or looks down on me, then I don't really care about that person. Like I don't really care what they think of me. Like that was one thing with cognitive behavior therapy, to not give too much credit to what other people think. Like why would you be nervous about stuttering in front of other people? Because you're scared of what they think of you. But if you're like, I don't care what they think of me, then you won't be nervous about stuttering, because you're not nervous about stuttering when you're home alone talking to your pet. And so it's only because you're talking to other people and you're scared what they think. But if you say, I don't care what they think, then you can not be nervous and have more confidence.
Yeah, and you said a very interesting thing about being kind or something, or being a good person. It sounded like to me like this, and I think this is a very good idea. I mean, when we measure ourselves in terms of our skills and qualities, what we can do or cannot, then we kind of put a lot of pressure and anxiety. Maybe when we start measuring ourselves from the point of view how good I am, I'm just a good person, and that's it. I don't need any special, skills and for
Yeah.
that. So maybe looking at the core of yourself, like, are you a good person? Maybe a good way to lift your self-esteem, because you eliminate those skill sets and hierarchies, the steps you need to go, so everything goes away. You just have the nutshell of you, and that's it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
this
That's a
how it
good way
sounds
to
to
put
me.
it.
Yeah, great. Okay, coming back to the confidence thing, when I ask you about this interview, this is a new thing. Maybe you've done interviews in your life, or maybe you haven't, but this particular thing is a new one. How did you, did it take a long time to process that and to kind of agree to that, or was it, like, as you say, very natural for you, or did you go through some struggles about this?
Well, so I've been interviewed once before about stuttering. I don't know if you met Dan Daniele Rossi at the conference.
We haven't, I think, spoke, but I understand that, yeah, who you were talking about. Yeah.
So he does an interview thing, like a podcast,
Right. He has
and
a podcast. Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
he had been asking me for years to be on his podcast, and at first I was like, no, 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 no. And then finally, after a few years, I gave in, and I said, okay, I'll do it. And so I did that. I think last year. And so when you asked, it was like a similar thing, and I was like, okay, now I've done this before, and I think I was kind of flattered with what you said, and you said, oh, you had the courage, and I was kind of flattered, so that helped.
Got it.
And so yeah, because I had done it before, I thought I had some time to do it. So I didn't think about it that much. I said yes pretty soon.
So a big conclusion about it, that is, the confidence grows when you do it the second time, and the third and the fourth, the confidence grows. So you are doing it the second time, same as with the exercise at the conference. You did it the second time, and every next time probably you have more confidence, because you haven't died because of the previous one. Maybe you even had a good experience out of that. Got it. So maybe it's important just to start and see how it goes. I see.
Yeah, to just jump in, and yeah.
Got it. Okay. So basically, just a couple questions I want to ask. Regarding your, a person who stutters, do you see like a goal in front of you, or you just don't see yourself much? Like, you don't see stuttering as a big part of your life, actually. So do you want to do anything else with your stuttering, or it's just something that it's just not stopping you back in your life, so you don't think much about it? Or do you have like the perspective? Do you have any way to go? Like, usually people say, like, I want to improve, or I want to, like, do something. So do you see that something in front of you, or just it's not holding me back and that's it?
So when I first sought out speech therapy, when I didn't know anything yet, I guess my goal was, like, I thought I had to get rid of it. But now, I've learned that's the goal anymore. And yeah, I've pretty much reached the goal, I guess, which I didn't realize at the beginning was my goal, but just to become, because what's important is not the stuttering, but communication. And it doesn't matter how you say something, But as long as you get your point across and you communicate what's in your head to somebody else, then that's what matters. Even if you stutter horribly on it, you don't want to hold back and use different words and say something different from what you mean because you're scared of stuttering on those words, so you use a different word instead. And I've pretty much reached that where you don't hold back if you want to say something and then you're like, oh, I'm not going to say it at all because I'm going to stutter on it. Then you didn't communicate what you wanted to. So communication, I guess, is a good goal, and I'm pretty much there. And then there's always going to be like sometimes where you might like switch out a word or like say not what you want to say because it's a situation or a person that you're a little more nervous with. So there's always like there's just little steps at the end to like just get a little better at always saying what you want to say and always speaking up when you want to and not letting any situation or any person make you embarrassed or make you nervous or make you anxious. So I'm pretty much at my goal, but just always a little more situations that I want to work on.
Got it. Okay, and maybe the last question. So I often hear like people see that stuttering as a monster, you know, like holding them again back in their life. What is freedom from stuttering for you? Like, do you feel free from like, do you feel free from the limitations that it can bring?
Free, probably like 95%. Yeah, like when I first sought out speech therapy, when I didn't know anything yet, I was like, oh, I said to myself, oh, I can't do that, or I can't do that because I stutter. Like I can't go give a presentation because I stutter, or I can't go meet that new person and introduce myself because I stutter, or like I said, I can't do things, and I don't say that anymore. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I want to say this word, or I want to say this in this way, and then I say it in a different way because I'm nervous of stuttering in front of that person, or so I'm not 100% free, but that's only a little bit of time, so probably 95% free from being held back from my stutter.
Okay, maybe one more question. Sorry for taking your time.
That's okay.
So I also hear that people say, and you said that speech therapy helped you in some way. So would you kind of advise people to go and get speech therapy, or what would be your advice?
I think it's different for every person, and I think everyone should at least try it. Like they don't have to commit to it, but try it and like see. And then every speech therapist is different. Like I've moved to different cities, so I've had different speech therapists, and some are better for me, and some are not. And so I would say everyone like to try it and see if it helps for them, and if not, like that's okay too if they want to stop going. And it depends on what's important to each person. Is being authentic and having people. But like, I mean, it's works for me, I guess, because I'm still authentic, and I can like not panic in a block now, and I can know that I have a way of getting that word out. But yes, it's different for different people, and yeah, well, everyone should try. I mean, just in general, not even without stuttering, people should always try things, and then they can decide if it works for them or not. Always give it a chance.
God, because like in your stuttering puzzle, I see like there you named like two pieces. One is speech therapy, which helped you really somehow not panic, as you say, because you kind of understand it better. And the second piece is this confidence and esteem, like seeing yourself as being okay just as a person. So probably both pieces are important for you, like, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's a good way to put it.
But the self-esteem and how you view yourself, you would probably value more as it sounds. Would you say? Or
Yeah, yeah. I probably value the self-esteem and confidence a little more than the techniques and the knowledge. Yeah.
got it, got it. Okay, this was a beautiful interview. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, and I hope to see you next time at the conference. Did you go to Dallas this year?
Yeah, yeah. I went to Dallas.
You did. Oh yeah, I didn't. So, but I'll go to the next one to Chicago. So hope to see you there.
Yeah, thank you. These were very good questions because I wasn't really sure what to expect or what we'd really talk about. I think you had very insightful questions and were really prepared. So yeah, I think it went well. And so you're thinking of going to the U.S. one next year in Chicago?
Sure, I will.
Oh.
For sure. Yeah. If you got free from stuttering or improved your speaking or just have something to share, let me know. Tell us about your experience. Become part of this project. So, do you think it's possible to overcome stuttering? Is it worth trying? Leave a comment. For more videos, subscribe to this YouTube channel, head over to freefromstutter.com blog, join Free From Stutter Facebook group, and I'll see you in the next video.